morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's weekly energy boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here this beautiful Monday morning with David. And tonight, wow, where'd that come from? Today's episode is all about signs from the universe. We are entering a new month, and there is a new mode this week that I think all of us are eagerly excited and anticipating to be able to embrace a wave of new energy. I think this month has been really intense for all of us. And one of the things that we want to capture this month, the new moon is this Friday. So if you're listening on Monday, November 1st, the new moon is this coming Friday. And we are moving into on the Kabbalistic calendar, the month of Sagittarius. So on the Weekly Energy Boost, we offer a 7-day spiritual weather forecast. David and I, and sometimes our guests, glean from the wisdom of Kabbalah to provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to navigate not only the coming week, but really any situation. And we've been focusing on monthly themes. Inevitably, the weekly energy also ties in as well. But this month, we're really looking into connecting to our true selves, fulfilling our true potential, authenticity, really striving to be ourselves in all of our greatness. And so we're focusing this week on welcoming the signs of the universe, which is really a great segue or a marriage even between the month of Scorpio that we are winding down and the month of Sagittarius that we are about to begin, because on one hand, Scorpio has this ability to really be in tune, to have a sixth sense, to have intuition, to tap into that knowing that I think a lot of us wish we had. But at the same time, they struggle with fear and preoccupation, and sometimes that sense is blocked by the lack and the void that they can attach themselves to. Sagittarians, on the other hand, are very go with the flow, really happy-go-lucky. They actually tend to be very lucky as far as the signs of the zodiac go. And so being in that flow is actually where we want to step into. And one of the reasons we're focusing on this theme is that there is a flow. The universe is constantly sending us waves to ride in the right direction. But sometimes the wave is uncomfortable, and sometimes the wave is inconvenient, and sometimes it's ill-timed, or it awakens fears or worries or preoccupations. And our goal this week and this month is to provide our listeners with the tools and the awareness how to ride those waves, how to embrace them, how to identify when a wave is coming, when it's the right wave, when it's the wrong wave, and use those opportunities. Not only, we use the word growth all the time or transformation, not only for the growth or the transformation, but to be happier, to enjoy life more, because I find, and I said this when I found the wisdom of Kabbalah myself, is that when you learn this wisdom, it allows you to work with the universe instead of working against it, right? As a farmer, whatever crop you're looking into, and I happen to be
a farmer,
not a farmer, but a wine enthusiast, and I've been learning a lot about.
I never knew that about you.
Even though I say it like every 6 months, I've been studying
I thought you were an espresso.
Also, I've been learning about like harvesting and planting and different. I was reading articles yesterday about what's going on in Northern California and how climate change is affecting the way wine is being grown and harvested. And as a person who specializes in a particular crop, you're going to learn the best ways to grow that, to plant that crop, to take care of the growth, to harvest at the right time. You're going to know the weather patterns and et cetera and so forth. It's not really different for us as people. We're interested in planting positive seeds, in growing the areas of our life that we want to flourish, and we have to be able to be in tune with when is the right time to take certain steps, when is the right time to manifest, when is the right time to, quote unquote, let the land lay fallow, and really be aware of how our actions, when in the right timing, can yield much better fruits than when we're trying to force something in the wrong time. And so that's really the opening act for, I think, what we're going to do over the next 4 weeks is share with you the most powerful and practical tools so that you can harvest your own fruit, whatever that fruit is. If you actually grow If you're a gardener or if you do grow something, this may be of particular interest, but we're really talking about growing relationships, growing your financial situation, growing your spiritual wisdom and strength, growing your health even. What are the ways that we can understand timing, opportunity, even gates? In Kabbalah, we use the word gates a lot. Gates open and close. There's windows of opportunity that open and close. How can we identify them? And so that's what we want to provide for our listeners this week and this month.
I was thinking about one of the ways to approach the whole idea of receiving signs from the universe, and the bedrock of what we teach in our earlier classes in Kabbalah 1 is this idea that you need to start off by looking at your entire reality as what we call an illusion, meaning we're normally in a state of stress and anxiety. And we don't need to be, because our stress and our anxiety is coming from the fact that we think what we're seeing and perceiving is happening. We think it's real, and we think that we're about to get hurt, or we're about to lose something, we're about to go through some kind of pain. So then we have these feelings inside of us that we call chaos and pain and suffering and anxiety and worry and all that. But Kabbalah teaches us that you need to first realize that everything you see and everything you hear and everything you feel, it's not real. It's not what's really happening. So what is happening? If that's not what's happening, what is happening? What's happening is that you have a choice to actually create a different universe, even if it's inside your own little bubble. So we think that the world is a certain way and I need to find out how to live in it. Kabbalah says that you can live in a new universe, and it starts with your mind, it starts with your consciousness, and you can create whatever reality you want. So for example, if you woke up this morning and said, regardless of what's happening or not happening, what people tell me or don't tell me, what email I get or don't get, whether I'm rejected or loved, I'm gonna be happy. I'm going to choose to be happy. I'm going to choose to have certainty. I'm going to choose to think about the Creator all day long, to believe that the Creator is the source of everything, to talk with the Creator. So all day long, you just follow these simple rules. If just those three that I just told you.
Say them again.
And I share these three because I'm always trying to find ways to become efficient in my own spiritual life. And every year that goes by and I learn more, I realize I just need to do less, actually. It's an interesting thing. And a sign that you're on the wrong path is you're doing more. So doing less means that you're actually getting closer to the light of the Creator. So I'm thinking, all right, how do I do less? And what it all comes down to is I realize it's three things. And if I do these three things all day long, regardless of what's happening, the worst thing could be happening. And many times it is, by the way, for me. Like the worst, like, oh my gosh, like this is like a total freak out moment. I said, well, I'm going to stick to these three things. I'm going to do them over and over again. I'm going to create my own reality. Michael Berg talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I found it to be so profound. That's what Abraham did. Abraham just created his own reality. It's like a whole new movie he would create. Regardless of what he saw or felt, he lived by certain principles. So let's say, what are those three principles? You choose, no matter what, to be happy. Now, let's see what that means practically. And chime in here, Alicia, because I don't want to go on too long. Being happy is, I don't know, I'm just, maybe I wake up in the morning and kind of have some anxiety about something. Something's like uncertain. And please tell me if you can relate to this. I'm following the chat live. Can you relate? What is it in your life that is kind of bringing you some stress? And usually when we wake up, that's kind of what we feel. I will then say, wait 1 second. Regardless of what the stress is, I need to be happy. All right, so how do I do that? Maybe you just move your body around. Maybe you just jump up and down. Maybe whatever it is that you do. Sometimes it's a mix of exercise. Sometimes it's a mix of something. But you're saying, I'm doing this now to achieve happiness. And sometimes it's about thinking about something that you appreciate. There's different tricks that we all have that is not about taking an external source of energy. Because a person can say, well, I'll just do some drugs first thing in the morning. I can be happy. So you gotta kind of be smart with yourself. All right. We all know when it's something from within versus something from outside. Like this morning, I took a banana and I sat there and I talked to the banana and I said, what like I just talked to the banana. I appreciated the banana. I felt the energy of the banana, and that made me happy. And I said, all right, now I've achieved the level of happiness. Now I want to achieve the level of certainty. So I sat there and I would talk to the Creator and say, please give me certainty. Where do I not have certainty? And I went through the parts of my life. I said, well, I don't have certainty here. I want to have certainty. Well, and I started to dissect them. And then I felt like, okay, now I have certainty. And then the third thing is involving the Creator in everything you do. And whatever that means for you at your level of spirituality, talking to the Creator, inviting the Creator. Like I invited the Creator to eat the banana with me. I said, come have a banana with me. I want to not do this alone. I want to do this with you. It's always better when I do it with you. You're in the banana. Right? This sounds like a stupid conversation, but this is what I know I need to do to experience my universe of miracles. Like I need miracles today. Like I'm not going to go today just kind of living a whatever life that doesn't have like incredible pleasure and miracles. Like I'm not going to do that. I can't. I think it's so stupid to just live a life where I'm just like the effect of everybody and suffering and going through all this unnecessary pain. Like that's not why we came here, and that's not what we were taught about life. So those are the three things for me. I feel they're simple. I go back to those three things all the time, and that's what I think is about. Not having the universe tell you what to do, but you just create the universe you want. And those three bedrocks for me are the most powerful way to start.
I'm smiling profusely if you're not watching live, because David just said in David's language what I was going to say in my language. David said, now I forgot it because I've been talking. You said you create the universe you want or something like that.
Yes. It sounds so cliche.
Wait, this is the funny thing is that what I was going to say, which is the same thing, is when people talk about, I'm looking for a sign, they focus on the external.
Right. They're waiting for something to hit them.
Right. I'm saying the universe is inside you. You are the universe. The universe, yes, it is an amazing construct of so many moving pieces at all the time and at once, and the Creator somehow manages to orchestrate every 7 billion different movies intersecting and revolving at any given moment. But at the same time, when we talk about that idea of receiving signs, recognizing signs, letting those signs in, there is much more on the internal part of us that determines whether we get signs, we see signs, we utilize them, than it is on the outside. I can't tell you how many people have written to us over the years that said, this happened and this happened and this happened. What does it mean? Right? All external scenarios. I saw this, I read this, I heard this song. What does it mean? The truth is that the inner workings of each one of us as an individual, what we call in Kabbalah consciousness, right? Our mindset, our focus is really what determines the quality and quantity of signs we get. And what David said, that formula, happiness, certainty, and involving the Creator, is actually the recipe to ensure that the conversation, I don't even want to call it signs, that conversation, when you say to the universe, show me the right way to go, should I turn right or left, chocolate or vanilla, I always use that example, is this my soulmate, right? When we ask those questions, should I invest in this or in that, the quality of the broadcast in response is really dependent on those three things. How maybe I would add a fourth bonus, which is humility, because the simple act of asking the universe for a sign, for a message, is really saying, I cannot do this alone. I don't want to navigate this with just me being the Captain Kirk of my Starship Enterprise. I want the Creator to be my Captain Kirk. I want the light force to be checking and pushing all the buttons. I've got to let that in. And the moment I let that in, I change the narrative from I want what I want to I really want what's going to help me fulfill my potential. And like David said, this is a message that we've been hearing over the last few weeks and months. from Michael Berg, who is definitely the I think one of the most prolific teachers and speakers on the wisdom of Kabbalah ever, has been sharing that, if we allow ourselves to fall to the distractions of the physical world, the distractions that are there to distract us from fulfilling our potential, we won't be happy. It's really simple. We think that the distractions will make us happy when the distractions are actually distracting us from being happy. And so in the conversation, of course, maybe as you're listening, you say, well, of course, Elisheva, I know that there's no coincidences. I know everything happens for a reason. But when things are stressful, like David was saying, when you're anxious, when there's something pending, when you're waiting for a decision or the numbers to go up or the numbers to go down, or there's tests that are being done, when there is that squeeze that the universe sometimes puts on us, what we understand from that is really determined by, are we focused on the outcome, or are we focused on how I can use this moment to grow my certainty, my happiness, and my relationship with the Creator? Full stop. That's it. So in looking at the different things, and I'm sure if you've been an inhabitant of planet Earth for the past 4 weeks, there has been stress. People have been intense. The universe has also challenged us to not revert to old patterns and old habits and old relationships. This is the week that you want to really step into recognizing the ways that you yourself opt for less happiness, opt for less certainty, and opt for less spirituality, less relationship with the Creator because, well, I got to take care of this right now, or this is really urgent, or we have to see this doctor, or I've got to check the stock market, right? That is not there for you to give away your energy. It's there for you to say, interesting. I'm sure it will be okay because all of it is sent from the Creator. And now what can I do to be out of my nature, against my nature, outside of my tendency to fall into those illusions so that I can really receive that communication from the universe that I've been asking for?
And I want to also revert back to the concept of, are you making your life more simple or more complicated? And that's what it always comes down to. Everything you do in your life should make your life more simple, make your thoughts more simple, make your behavior more simple. The way you are with your kids should be simple. The way you are in your romantic life should be simple. Over-complicated structures belong to the negative side. When something is overcomplicated, you're inviting negative forces in because there's an affinity of form with negativity and complication. So I ask everyone who's listening to us right now, where is your life complicated? Where is it just not simple? Think of right now the magic of how your body is working. Trillions of things are all happening at once. It's not very complicated. In your head, you're not sitting there trying to think of doing a trillion things. Heart should beat, legs should move, brain should think, eyes should blink. All these things happen with such a simple, fluid energy. And that is the greatest miracle that is us, is the way the body's working. However, when it comes to a simple thing of, should I buy this? Should I not buy that? Should I break up with this person or should I not break? Some just basic decisions that really just require you to do one thing. We overcomplicate that. And that is causing an open door to the negative side. So part of a practical thing that you can do with that is, what are some behaviors that are inviting this complicated energy in? Sometimes you put too many choices in front of you. Right? Sometimes, I think studies have shown, you walk into like a restaurant, and if there's too many options on the menu, it's a worse experience. People might actually spend less when there's too many options. When the options are more simple and clarified, people will spend more. I remember that there are studies about this stuff. I don't know. I can't quote them right now. But where is your life right now? Because that's another alignment with the universe. Universe cannot provide for you if you're coming up with a complicated structure of what you think it should look like.
I want to, again, restate what David just said. Sometimes when people come and ask me, what does this mean? Or is this a sign? Or is this a sign that I should break up with them? Or is this a sign that they're my soulmate and all that stuff? One of the first questions I ask is, what did you do to merit such an obvious sign? And this is something that we talk about also in when we enter the realm of dream interpretation, and is a dream prophetic? Is there a message, etc.? And to David's point, if you are busy all day long attaching yourself, complicating things, doing the things that invite more negativity into the picture, why would the universe give you, how would that translate into a clear sign of this person is your soulmate? Does that make sense? That when the more clear, or the way to gain clarity, have those signs be more obvious, be more in tune with the messages coming from the universe, is not to complicate, it's to simplify. Mm-hmm. So if you've been obsessing over something and suddenly a bus passes you that says she's the one, mm-hmm. the odds of that being a sign are very little. Mm. Whereas if you woke up in the morning, meditated with your cup of coffee, injected consciousness of appreciation, of gratitude, thought about who you can share with today, and then said, you know what? I'm going to let the light take care of this issue. I'm not going to be focused on, is she my soulmate or not? I'm going to let the light take care of that. And then at the end of the day, you have this out of nowhere knowing, or something happens, then the odds of it being clear and true are greater. That it's really, we talk in the podcast a lot about affinity. That when you create, the more affinity you create with the light force, the more unified you'll be with the light force, which equates to the happiness, the certainty in that relationship. But the more we complicate it, right, the more unlight like we act, the more interference there is in that certainty, in that knowing, or what we call stress, anxiety, fear, lack, etc. So it's important to also that if we're setting ourselves up, if we have a desire to be in the right place at the right time, that doesn't start with when we get there. I'll be in the right place at the right time when I get there. That starts with, what can I do now to create affinity with the light so as to ensure that when I get there, I'll be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, what you just said is so beautiful. And so a lot of people are coming in, I said that as a number of the live viewership goes, so people coming in the middle, listening to us, and we're talking about how to not only be able to hear the signs, read the signs that the universe is giving you, but also how to create your own universe. So you can kind of control the, actually, it's just so much better, right? I mean, I'm trying to think of the good analogy of instead of renting, owning, pretty much. I think that's kind of the way we look at it. How do you create your own universe so you're in control of all the messages? If you have to make a decision right now in your life, and you're looking for clarity and simplicity, as we all are, because we just learned that simplicity and the light go hand in hand, and complexity and the negative side go hand in hand. If you're looking for that simplicity, well, how do you get there? How do you get there? And a lot of times, the reason why we're not clear about what to do in our lives, we don't know what the message is because there's good and evil, there's negativity and positive forces intermingling in this process. So we live, according to Kabbalah, in what's called the tree of knowledge, good and evil, and there's deep secrets behind that concept of this reality. But it pretty much means there's an intermingling of positive and negative forces, and that's why we're not all fully clear. We're not clear about what we should eat, where we should live, who we should date, who we should marry. We make 1,000 decisions a day, and we're not always 1,000% clear about what to do. And that is because of the intermingling of positive and negative forces. So Kabbalists say, well, how do I extract the negative forces from the scenario? I'm kind of saying what Elisheva is saying, but from a different angle. How do you remove those negative forces? What do I need to do so that all that's left there is the positive? Because as soon as the only thing that's left there are the positive forces, the answer becomes clear. So our teacher, Rav Berg, says, what you need to do is you need to do restriction. Restrict meaning let go of the negative attachment, the desire to receive that is part of all this process. So, for example, I don't know, give me, Alicia, you throw at me a decision someone might have to make, and then I'll share the process of how do you remove your desire to receive for the self alone from that process to get it clear.
Okay, I have a couple students who were just recently dealing with someone who had a serious medical prognosis.
Okay. What do you mean? You mean someone close to them got a medical prognosis? Okay. And what are they not clear about?
How to have certainty, how this could be a good thing.
The friend or the person who got it? It's different.
Well, both, but I'm in touch with the friend.
Okay.
Or the relative, let's say.
So
more accurate.
you're a person, that you have someone close to you who's going through a painful thing, right?
Potentially life-threatening.
Potentially life-threatening. And you're thinking, how do I help this scenario?
I'll be speaking on their behalf, let's say.
Yeah.
They're struggling with how could this be a good thing? These are good people. This is a good person.
Yeah.
They've been kind and good and generous. There's no one better. Why would God punish them? Why do they have to suffer? And by the way, the final outcome isn't determined yet.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how one of the things that I've been talking to them about is how, because the final outcome isn't determined, we don't know if it's life-threatening, life-ending, etc., how consciousness now is still a part of creating that reality.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you, first of all, how do they stop thinking about it, worrying about it, stressing about it, etc., and then from there contribute to a more positive outcome? Okay,
so this is a slightly tricky one because you have two things we need to deal with. One is that someone is in pain, so we have to know how to deal with that. And two, I internally, privately, am in a different state of pain because I have doubts and fears and worries myself, right? Now, what we want to do is we want to know how do we bring as much of the light of the Creator into the scenario, which we can do so by affinity of form. So let's deal with the person's private thoughts. We know that any time we have doubts about the Creator, we're creating more chaos. We don't need to know why something is happening, but we need to start with, at least want to start with, getting to a place where we have certainty that for whatever reason, this, I don't see the whole picture, but this is good. It's not a slogan. It's something that we have to eventually learn how to feel deep inside of ourselves. We get to that place. It's a higher level of our soul. It's called the Ruach. We get to that place where we know that this is for the good. Now, that's my private process I need to go through, and I can get there by talking with the Creator. Creator, help me. Thank you for showing me that I actually have doubts. It's easy to have certainty in the Creator when things are going well, but now things are not going well with my friend, and now I'm having doubts, so I need you to help me. I need to invest in this, getting to this level of certainty. The problem is sometimes we then share that process with the person who's going through pain, meaning we'll walk right up to them and say, hey, you need to have certainty here. Now, that is a problem because that is not sensitive. That is not with empathy. So by doing that, you can do that for yourself, and you should do that for yourself. But by doing that with the other person, you're drawing negativity, more negativity, actually making this person more sick. So with that person, it's totally the opposite. It's, oh my gosh, I know how painful this must be. I know you're afraid. I know you're having doubts. And finding the language that they need to hear so that they can feel that you feel them, right? And of course, in the right time, in the right way, the light will show you how to give them strength and certainty. But a lot of times we impose or impress. This is something all spiritual people do, especially in the Kabbalah Centre. We're all guilty of this. We're so excited about getting ourselves to certainty that we are almost like
proselytizing.
Yeah, it's almost like a fire hosing them,
waterboarding
them with, you need to have certainty. You need to. But where's this really coming from? If you really ask yourself where it's coming from my own selfish fear that people close to me are going to be weak. People close to me are going to go through chaos that's going to make my life difficult. people close to me, maybe it's my children who I'm associated with, who wants their child to go through suffering, and this is going to be a problem for me. So it comes from a very deep place. When we ask other people to have certainty, it's coming from our own fear. It's coming from our own fear. So in this case, this person has two things they need to do. How do I increase my personal, private certainty? And how do I increase my public empathy for this other person? And that's what will bring, it's very simple. It's just two things. Focus on it day in and day out. It's not more complicated than that. You don't need to figure out the doctor or all that. Where is this happening? This person's tikkun. Like, why do you want to know? Why do you even care what's happening? You're doing that because you want to feel comfortable with a stable universe. You're afraid that the universe is not stable and you want God to tell you exactly why this person is going through something. It's a selfish request. But by acting like the light, you will know. But don't want to know just so you feel comfortable.
I think it would be good to give everybody also a way to practice receiving the kind of guidance that I think we'd all like to experience. And with the example I gave to David, while I'm sure it's a relatable one, and most of us have been in a scenario at least relatively similar to that, it's really, like David said, it's a muscle that we need to strengthen. It's not something that you go from, you heard a great podcast today, to suddenly you're having these, everything is falling into your lap because you applied those three concepts. I would suggest that everybody gets comfortable in their conversations with the Creator, in welcoming those signs with the smaller things. David used the example of the banana earlier this morning. I'm suggesting that in a way that you really bring the Creator into every single moment, from what do I wear, what do I eat, who should I call next, should I answer emails now or finish reading that article. Really bring in the constant questioning, not from a place of I don't know what to do, but from a place of I want to be utilizing the next moment in the highest way possible. And what you find is that when you get into that habit, I use some very mundane ones, but I think the one, for example, about maybe you're in sales and you need to call a customer. Who should I call next? That's not a mundane thing. You're actually asking the light to guide you to who is ready to receive your energy right now, your connection right now, your words right now. You don't want to throw your words into an empty wastebasket. You want to put it into a place where it's going to be utilized to the highest. So by which cab should I take? Which Uber should I click? So many opportunities we have to make smaller decisions, which means, yes, it's small stuff, and maybe you know what to cook for dinner, or maybe you know which way to drive to work. But by inviting the light into everything, you're building up this reservoir of support, of guidance. You're tuning yourself. And remember, we said earlier today that the universe is really within you. The problem is that we're so out of tune with that broadcast, whether it's a physical, I think we spoke about it not long ago. We had an episode on intuition. Sometimes the intuition comes to us through a physical sensation, but we're so disembodied that we don't even feel the sensations when they come to us. The butterflies, the tingling, maybe the little sound we might hear, or it's just a knowing within. We're so disembodied that we don't even capture those broadcasts when they come to us. So I think for all of our listeners this week, and it doesn't matter when you're listening to this because this is really timeless, focus on inviting the light, asking for the help, asking for the guidance, not only even when, but especially when you don't need it. And this is something that I do with students in Kabbalah 1. Ask for help 100 times a day. Ask for guidance 100 times a day. Don't stop when you know what you think you know what you're doing. Continue to ask and be open. Have your physical eyes open as well as your spiritual eyes open to the guidance that you might receive. And sometimes it happens that, you're so open that the phone rings and the right person calls you. That's how do you, I think I actually read a book earlier this year, and now I wish I could remember what it was, but I can't. And it was perfectly timed for me personally. So I'm sure it's perfectly timed for someone who's listening this morning or ever to this episode, is that it was a situation where a student was asking their teacher, is this a sign? And the teacher said to the student, I don't know, is it? And to me, that was another lesson about creating our own narrative, deciding what things mean to us. That if something very difficult what destroys us, or it makes us the best partner, parent, friend, human being we could become. And I met with somebody years ago who was in fundraising, and she said, if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And I thought that that's a also very powerful concept for ourselves as we go through the challenges that life presents us, and even in looking for the signs from the universe, right? If, I don't know, it happened to me years ago. This is actually quite a funny thing I haven't thought about in a long time. There was this guy that insisted, we're spiritual people in a spiritual organization. There was this guy that was insisting I was his soulmate.
When?
About between 20 and 15 years ago.
Oh.
I was divorced.
I thought I was going to get juicy. I thought this was the last
No,
week.
no. I was divorced, but not yet married to Mordechai.
Got it.
Swore up and down, it's meant to be. We met so many years ago. Now he's come back into my life for a reason. I have to deny
I'm going to
it.
be asking you about this in the car.
Yes. I can't deny it anymore. All this, very spiritually convincing stuff, because Kabbalah, if you study Kabbalah, you learn the buzzwords. And I looked at him and, to me, there was zero grounds, right? Zero merit for any of it. There was literally no reason for me to believe we were soulmates. But the tenacity this man had, quite impressive. But my point is that you decide, meaning there was a version of my reality, I guess, where I could say, well, he said there's so many signs, so I guess those are signs and we should be together. But the main sign I needed was, are you kidding me? Like, there was no part of my broadcasting, my satellite system received no such broadcast. And I don't even know where that example came from, but I'm saying he came with all the evidence. This happened on this date, and then this person saw you, and this person had a dream, and I had a dream, and all the spiritual evidence, right, in the file. The point is that when you're in touch enough with your own satellite system, I like that way, my personal satellite system that's tuned into receiving the broadcasts from my soul, right? My soul is that homing device that's connected to the Creator, and the only thing that's in my control is how much interference there is. Did I have a stressful day where I was afraid and reactive and negative and pessimistic, and I got sucked into the news, and I listened to gossip from my aunt Beatrice, and I decided I'm going to, I did all the things I know better than, right? I shouldn't have, but I did. And then at the end of the day, I'm looking for the signs and signals. My homing system is offline, right? If I've been reactive and angry and frustrated and critical and selfish all day, I promise you the homing system is offline. The good news is the moment you recognize it, the moment you can bring it back online. And that, the wisdom and the tools of Kabbalah provide us with, it's not a Band-Aid, but it is a way to recalibrate, plug back in, dial up, and be connected again. The point is that you get to decide. If it means something to you, use it and let it have meaning and let it have positive impact on you. But if you don't see it, or you ignore it, or you decide it's not a sign, it no longer has meaning for you. And I think that that's important, because you can see the bus with the sign that says she's the one. I think there was even a movie years ago called She's the One. If you see that advertisement, when you're thinking, is this girl for me? And then you see the bus that says she's the one, it's an opportunity to say, is it? Is she? Or is it a confirmation? You decide. You decide. And that's why having that affinity is so important, is because you could be deciding that a false message is truth, or vice versa. And that's one of the things we want to come to this week, is to fine tune that part of us, that apparatus within that receives those messages, so that we can objectively receive them and not receive them with agenda or attachment.
All right, final words.
Final words.
Final takeaway for everybody. My final takeaway is keep your life simple. The more simple it is, the more you will receive. The more complicated it is, the less you will receive. Number 2, there's 3 things to focus on. It's creating your own universe through finding internal ways of being happy. Number 2, strengthening your certainty. And the way you do that. Number 3 is by inviting the Creator, talking with the Creator, asking the Creator for help. You do these 3 things and you repel all negative forces from every situation you have. But if you don't do these 3 things and you just try to use your brain to fix problems, you are rolling around in the mud, and nothing gets done when we try to fix problems. We got to fix it with the light of the Creator, and those 3 things brings the most light.
I'll tell you my final thought, and I think we gave you a lot to think about today, a lot to do today. It might be worth listening again and taking notes on what practically applies to you. I guess the last thing I would say is that listening to the signs, following the signs, is actually risk-free as long as you have certainty. Certainty really is the net, the safety net that will catch you in the event that you make a wrong decision. And when I say a wrong decision, there aren't really wrong decisions. But when you have certainty and you know, let's say you see the guy convincing you he's your soulmate, you're his soulmate, you've been together for lifetimes and don't deny it and all that stuff. And you say, you know what? I'm going to have certainty that if this is the wrong decision, the light is going to show me. And you do it and you go for it. You will be, it won't last because, I mean, if it's not meant to be. If it's meant to be, it will last. But the point is that with your certainty, with your knowledge that the Creator is actually the one driving it, if it is not the best thing for you, you will be quote unquote saved from it. It won't last. You may go out on a few dates and then it becomes extremely obvious that it's not the right thing, or I don't know, there can be all, infinite scenarios. But that certainty that David brought up in the beginning, that is obviously weaved throughout what we said today, that's really your insurance, your buyer's insurance. You won't get involved in any transaction that you can't get out of if you know that the transaction was sent to you from the Creator. And it doesn't have to, let's put it this way. It may be from the Creator that you date the person, but not that you marry them. It's not all or nothing, right? If somebody enters your viewfinder, your radar, that's not necessarily because the Creator wants you to marry them. It could be that you just need to go out on a few dates. Maybe you have to have a relationship for 6 months. It's not all or nothing from the universe's point of view, because everything is sent to us for our growth. If we get the growth, it doesn't need to be there anymore. So as we look in this coming week as to how we can embrace and enhance the broadcast, the fine-tune the sound with which we receive these messages, let's also pay attention to what really is the main determinator, main qualifier for how we work with the universe. It is really the level of our certainty. So hopefully with everything we said today, you'll be launched into the coming week, into the coming month with stronger certainty, greater happiness, and a lot more asking the Creator for help. Weekly Energy Boost is available on everywhere podcasts are found, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere, and we appreciate endlessly your reviews, your likes, your ratings, your subscribing, and most importantly, your sharing. The impact we have is really in your hands, the listeners, and how much you share and use what we offer on our podcast. And we'll be back next week sharing more tools on how to get to the true you, which is nothing less than pure light, pure power, pure inspiration. We'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.